In this presentation, you will see how to migrate file services running on Windows Server 2003 R2 to Windows Server 2012. In our first demonstration, you saw how to install the migration tools on Windows Server 2003. We will now look at how we actually migrate the groups, files, and permissions to Windows Server 2012 from the Windows Server 2003 R2 server. When migrating our file shares from Windows Server 2003 R2 to Windows Server 2012, we will need to go through a number of procedures. Firstly, we will get all of our local users and groups from our file server and migrate those across to Server 2012. As you can see here, we have a full control corp data local group, which has a membership of a global full control corp data group. If we then go into our file system, we'll see a shared folder here called corp data. If we take the properties of corp data and go to our security tab, you'll see our local group has full control permissions and the group has the same level of permissions at the share level. We will need to get these across to the Server 2012 machine so that we can restore those ACLs. You'll notice that we have some files in our file share, and now we'll run an export SMIG server setting command, getting all of our users and groups and migrating those out to a migration store in migration data/local groups. As per usual, we will specify a password. We then collect and store our migration data, and now we're ready to restore that on 2012. Across to our Windows Server 2012 machine, we've copied across the output from the migration tools on Windows Server 2003. As we can see here, our servermig.mig file is present, and if we go into computer management and go to the groups, you can see that at the moment the groups we've exported are not on the Server 2012 box. Going back to our PowerShell prompt, we're going to execute an import SMIG server setting command now, pointing to the MIG file that we previously exported and grabbing the user and group portion. Putting in our password now, we'll parse that and then import and give us information about which users and groups did and didn't import. Obviously, duplicates will not import. If we refresh now, you can see our full control group is now in place and we can migrate our file shares across. On our Server 2003 machine, we are now ready to migrate the corp data share across to our Windows Server 2012 box. Within our PowerShell command, we are going to run a send SMIG server data command, which is going to open a channel to the machine called member and utilize our source path of corp data to send to a destination on the Windows Server 2012 machine of corp data as well. We will create this folder if it doesn't exist, and once we set this command off, we are essentially waiting for a receive command to be run at the other end. We supply a password and we're now ready to receive on the 2012 server. Finally, on our 2012 server, we need to run a receive SMIG server data command. We'll enter the password and that will begin the data migration process. At this point, we connect to our previous server and transfer the data across. If we now go to our file system, we'll see that a corp data directory has been created on the Server 2012 machine and the files migrated across. If we take the properties of this and go into the sharing tab, we can see that we have already shared this folder out, and if we go and look at the permissions, they have come across as well, all of our ACLs being intact. If we have a quick look at our security section as well, the same has occurred. We've now migrated from 2003 to 2012 for our file shares.